Hey guys, welcome to Screenshots. My name is Pedro and I'm here to talk to you about Game of Thrones Season 5. Now, if you haven't seen the show or watched Season 5 yet, do not watch this review because it will contain spoilers. And I mean huge spoilers. With that being said, the knife just goes to her belly, like the baby is there and it goes into her belly, and then you see Robb Stark dying and Lady Catelyn dying. Like, oh my god, imagine why? I mean, after Ned Stark dying, you have to watch it. Like, oh my god, it's been 2 seasons after that awful scene and I still haven't gotten over that. Oh my god. Oh yeah, and Jon Snow dying supposedly is also like, but yeah. Don't get me wrong, I like Jon Snow. I think he's a great character, without a doubt. I like his story at the wall. Oh, the wildlings, we need the wildlings, and we need to get the wildlings, so, like, because of the White Walkers, you know, I'm from the north. Jon Snow, I know nothing. You get that story arc, and it's interesting, and the battle that he has against the White Walkers with the wildlings was freaking amazing. I loved that battle, that was really, really well done. But him dying was kind of like, it was foreseeable in a way. It did hit me, don't get me wrong. Nothing will ever top the Red Wedding in my opinion. And that's not a bad thing per se, but at the same time, like, he dies. It's the last scene we see in Season 5. He dies. And it ends. That normally doesn't happen in Game of Thrones. Normally you see characters dying in Episode 9. The Red Wedding was in Episode 9. Oberyn dying was in Episode 9, you know, and Ned Stark dying was in Episode 9. So normally stuff happens in Episode 9, and in Episode 10 you're going to have a resolution of this whole season. So it doesn't end in a cliffhanger, but it gives you expectations for the next season. It kind of goes into it, and you kind of see where the story might be going. This time that did not happen except for Tyrion in Meereen. Tyrion in Meereen now, he kind of leads the city and he has people who he trusts, like Grey Worm and the girl, and that's awesome. I really like that story arc, but everything else, it's like, okay, Daenerys is captured by these guys on horses. What's the deal with that? Jon Snow dying being the last scene, I also felt like, did this really end his story arc properly? I don't know. And many other things. The story arc in Dorne did finish, but we still have to see what happens after Myrcelle dies, you know. If this was Episode 9, I would have made more sense, in my opinion. Yeah, than Episode 10, to kind of like just resolve everything, having the characters react to every death and see what they think and their plans for the upcoming season. You know, that's normally what happens, and it didn't happen this time. And you do see that happen in Season 5. There are flaws, possibly because they had some liberties in writing Season 5, you know. Now they caught up with the books. I haven't read the books. I have not read the books, but it does make sense that the story isn't as fleshed out properly because they don't have anything to go by now. They have to create the story by themselves. And when you don't have something to go by, when you have to create a story completely original, completely fresh, and these characters that you already written, and you know, now you have to give them their own story. You have to create them. That is difficult. That is very difficult, and when you're writing for a show or for a film, you're going to end up in that realm of, we're going to use these tropes to do the same thing in Game of Thrones. And you see that happen. For instance, in Dorne, with Oberyn's wife, and she's like really mad and wants to kill Myrcella, she suddenly has a change in motivations in her character. Now, for me, that's either two things. One, if she actually did change, that's bad character writing in my opinion. Like you see in Star Wars Episode 3 with Anakin Skywalker suddenly becoming bad and becoming on the Emperor's side. It's the same thing. It's a change in motivations and character. You kind of see it happen, but it's not done properly, and if that were to stick, then it would be, in my opinion, bad character writing. Now, that's not what happens, of course, because this is Game of Thrones, and characters don't suddenly change in their motivation. So the most obvious answer would be, she is still evil, she still wants to kill Myrcella, and I'm a viewer, I know this, I'm thinking this. How come everybody in that show cannot see this? How come Jaime doesn't see this? How come the king or prince of Dorne does not see this? How come they do not see this happening? And it's like, when she kisses Myrcella, I was like, okay, she's dead. And that's what happens, you know. You have Jaime trying to tell her, Myrcella, I am your father. And Myrcella says, I know, Daddy. Oh my god. Yes, I love you. I love you too, Myrcella. Oh, lovey-dovey. Oh my god, you will die. And that's what happens. And it's tropes. It's like putting the scene absolutely perfectly. Jamie even says, this could not be more perfect, you know, the guy that you're with and you're here with me and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It just says, okay, something bad is going to happen. It's so obvious. Okay, just die already, she said. Game of Thrones doesn't normally do that. It sometimes does, you know, in season 1, in season 2, in season 3, and even in season 4, but this time it was just a bit too big for my taste, you know. It's just happens a bit too many times, you know. There's things like they're in a really difficult situation, and how are they going to come out of it alive, like Sam against those bullies, and then you have the dog from Winterfell's, I'm sorry, I do not remember their names right now, but saves the situation. It's like those last minute interventions, like plot convenience that happen to save some characters, and that's for me not really Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is more logical, makes more sense, stuff happens in a more natural way. Like if Sam were to win that battle, then it would have to be written in a smarter way. And other stuff like Stannis dying, I thought was interesting without a doubt, but he does have a sudden change in his motivations to killing his daughter. There is a little bit of a build-up, but you have in an episode saying, you are my daughter, I will do anything to protect you, and then 2 episodes later, it's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you, and she dies. And it's like, I like it, I like the idea, it's like, this is cool, I like this, and this is a scene that is really well done, but him as a character needed to be fleshed out more properly. Like, there need to be a bigger build-up. You need to feel like Stannis had no chance of winning anything unless he had to kill off his daughter because of what Lady Melisandre says. And for me, that would be more believable. It was just little things in season 5 that really didn't make season 5 as good as season 3 and season 4 and season 2. As you know, season 1, I didn't particularly love it. I thought it was way too political, but season 2, really, things do really get going. Season 3, I think, is the best, in my opinion. The great build up to what happens in the Red Wedding and other stuff too. Love the Theon story with Lord Ramsay. By the way, Lord Ramsay is one of my favorite characters. Love that character. He's so evil, he's so well written, and he's such a good actor. You see that again in season 5. Love the rape scene. I don't care what anybody says, like Game of Thrones, awful things happen, and when she knows that she's going to be raped, kind of, because it's their wedding night, and Lord Ramsay forces Theon to see them having sex. Yeah, it's hurts, but it's really well done, and that's Game of Thrones. That makes sense. It's natural, it's logical, it just flows naturally. You know, you had a huge build up to that moment, it makes sense. But other things, they just didn't connect that well. Bear in mind, when I'm criticizing Game of Thrones, I'm nitpicking, because as you know, I think season 2, season 3, and season 4 Game of Thrones are absolutely great. When you get to season 5, you do see a little dip in terms of quality, perhaps because of the fact that they took liberties in terms of writing, and it's expected because they've reached the books. They've caught up with the books. I have not read the books, as I've said, and the fact that they have to do this, it is really difficult to write characters and continue to write characters properly, especially when you have 5 seasons of a show going on. So it is expected. It's just a shame that when a show is that good, the quality cannot just stay at the same level. I mean, it's a little dip, but it's still a bit of a shame, and you do feel that in season 5 of Game of Thrones. But with that being said, I do like the Arya story arc. I think it's really well done. The fact that she has to become no one, but at the same time, the fact that she cannot forget the people who had a huge impact in her life in a negative way, traumatic experiences, and she sees the first guy on her list at the place that she's at, and she has the opportunity to kill him. She is not no one, she's Arya Stark, and she's going to kill him, and she did kill him in the most awful, horrible way, and that was amazing. And to see the outcome with Jaqen H'ghar killing himself, but not really, because again, who is he? He's no one. He's not Jaqen H'ghar, and Arya is not supposed to be Arya either, and it's expected that something bad is going to happen, and she starts to become blind. That was interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that in season 6. I do think it was the best story arc in all of season 5. And the story arc with Cersei was great. It was also one of the best parts of season 5, along with Arya's. So well done, so well thought out, and that final scene that she has in episode 10 is brilliant. The walk of shame that she has. She gave power to this cult to do what they think is the right thing in the eyes of the gods and all that sort of thing. The fact that it came around and she had to have that walk of shame. She wasn't able to push Queen Marjorie away. She also had to suffer from it, and it was brilliant. The fact that she's just walking, having that walk of shame, completely naked, and listening to what the population, to what the people have to say, and the way that they react. Again, gritty, very dirty, not clean at all. So well thought out. One of the high points of season 5, in my opinion. And it's risque. And the fact that it's risque is Game of Thrones. It's logical and it's natural and it makes sense, and there's a huge build up to that moment during season 5. I love that story arc. She's a character that I absolutely hate. I have to give props to the actress. She's really, really good, without a doubt. I don't hate her. I do hate her, but I like hating her because she does it so well, and she really pisses me off like Tywin did. But to see her story arc doing that, giving that walk of shame at the end was brilliant. Loved it. So you can see that Game of Thrones season 5 does have its high moments, and it's awesome to watch. The White Walkers against Jon Snow, the wildlings, it was absolutely amazing. And even though that the Stannis story arc was rushed, the idea of it is amazing. Killing his daughter is so amazing. That scene is so well done, but it's just rushed. The changing character motivations again do suffer from these plots. The Myrcella story in Dorne with Jaime and Oberyn's wife, that makes also sense, but it's rushed again, as I mentioned before, and it's done in a way that we see a lot in movies, and it's not natural and logical. And Game of Thrones has that. It is natural and it's logical, and when it doesn't have that in some scenes in season 5, you do feel that dip in quality, which is a shame, but it's still good, especially when the ending with Ollie and Jon Snow, and Ollie is the person who gives the final blow to Jon Snow. Then you have Ollie being like, "Immigrants kill my family. Why are you doing this, Jon Snow?" And Jon Snow's like, "Not immigrants. They're wildlings, and they have a chance to live, and they're good people like us, and we need them to fight the wild." Yeah, why would Jon Snow take care of a kid that killed Ygritte? The person who is famous by saying that famous line, "You're not nothing, Jon Snow." But yeah, it ended really well in my opinion. I mean, Jon Snow dying is a huge deal. I just wish it wasn't the last shot of season 5, because if it happened in episode 9, I think it would have a bigger impact. Being the last scene in season 5 makes me think that he might not be dead. And even though you kind of saw it happening, I didn't think it would be this soon, to be honest. But it do feel like it's ending on a cliffhanger, and it's not ending him with him actually dead, because you have Lady Melisandre there also in the wall, and you don't see her react to Jon Snow's death. So it's obvious that you're thinking, like, is he really dead? If he is dead, if he's actually dead, then I don't think it was in the most proper way. But if he's not dead, then I understand why they did this. But let's see season 6. Season 5 was still really good. Better than season 1 in my opinion. Character reactions, the characters, with Jon Snow, knowing nothing, and all that sort of thing. It was still really interesting to watch. Hope you enjoyed my review. Don't forget to subscribe. You can check out my Facebook link, my Twitter, and my blog below. Do not forget to also watch the reviews on my right hand side of Game of Thrones if you haven't seen them yet. And remember, these are my personal opinions.